Well, while everyone's coming in, I was just, we've been broadcasting all of our sermons, Facebook Live, and so I've been watching the people that have gotten on there and commented and stuff, and we all have. It's very fun. It's fun to watch people from all over the world watching and making comments, and we just feel like we're just, it's a small world after all. It's kind of the way it feels like, we're affecting people and making relationships with people all over the entire world. But anyways, I was on my Facebook, and somebody posted a memory of a post that I had done 3 years ago. So it was like it came up in their memories or something. And so I started reading it, and I thought, wow, I'm going to read this to you. So before I get started on my message, I just want to read this to you. It is enlightening and good, and I posted this 3 years ago, and it came from her memories, and so she reposted it today. But let me read what this says to you. And this was just a post that I don't even remember doing it, but it's really good. It says this: let's imagine a situation in which you lost your temper with a family member or a loved friend. In your anger and frustration, you said some mean and hurtful things that you should never have said, and a heated exchange of harsh words resulted. Now, a cold war has broken out in your relationship, and you are feeling terribly guilty for what has happened. The more you dwell in guilt, the worse it gets, and the more angry you become. Your thoughts and feelings race. It's all their fault that I feel so lousy. They make me so angry. They don't appreciate all that I do for them. They're so selfish and ungrateful. If they would just respect me, I wouldn't get so mad and act so mean. Because of them, I keep losing my temper and acting like that. I know it's wrong, and I don't want to act like that, but they just always push me too far. Because of them, I know God is so frustrated and fed up with me, and I have failed him over and over again. Now, who can understand that feeling? We a lot of times blame how we feel on other people for making us feel that way. We blame them for our bad behavior. It goes on, it says this: we have all had thoughts like these. They are thoughts of guilt, shame, and condemnation that the enemy will keep feeding us as long as we will keep eating. The enemy's plan is to feed us thoughts that God condemns us for the behavior of others that cause our bad behavior, causing us to feel guilt and anger, at the same time creating tension, irritation, and anger in our relationships with everyone, but especially those we really love. He longs to destroy every love relationship and every family. But when we begin to recognize the truth and believe that even in our anger and inability to react appropriately, God still loves us perfectly. When we begin to see and believe that the blood of Jesus has already washed away that sin in our life, when we begin to grasp the fact that even in our ugliness, he still sees us righteous and calls us the ones he loves. If we truly understood how completely we have been forgiven and unconditionally we are loved, it would be very hard to remain angry with that other person that we love and keep up our end of the Cold War. In fact, the opposite will happen. It is as if we feed on the Lord's beautiful love, unexplainable forgiveness, and lavish grace, even while we feel most undeserving, that we'll end up doing whatever it takes to reconcile with our loved one. Not only that, but whatever upsets us to begin with will become infinitely small when we allow our heart to be embraced by the largeness of God's love. We have no power to truly understand love unless we first receive and experience it in our own life. But as we receive it in our most undeserving times, it will supernaturally flow into others and theirs. Perfect example of we can't operate in forgiveness. We can operate in the mind of Christ without realizing that first the mind of Christ operates toward us. In other words, God doesn't expect anything from you he hasn't already put in you. He's not expecting you to perform for him. Right? Isn't that what our conference has been about the whole weekend? He's not expecting anything from you that he hasn't already done for you and put in you. Amen. Wow, that's powerful. Amen. All he wants is for you to receive. Because he loves us that much. God is not into behavior modification for his benefit.
Right.
It doesn't benefit God for you to act right. He doesn't care. He doesn't fall off his throne. He doesn't get up on his throne over how you act. It doesn't affect him at all. How you act does not affect God. You can take that home. We can stop right now if that's the truth. How you act does not affect him. It doesn't change who he is. It doesn't make him who he is. It doesn't do anything to make God who he is or change who God is by how you behave. Your behavior, he wants to be the reflection of the relationship you have with him. And if you understand that no matter how you act, his thoughts toward you are perfect love, perfect forgiveness, only acceptance, guess what? That overflowing of that relationship with him will flow into other people's lives.
Yes.
Amen.
You'll be able to love people you couldn't love before.
Amen.
You'll be able to forgive people you couldn't forgive before.
Amen.
When you begin to understand that despite my behavior, like Sandra was talking about, you have yourself a perfectionist mentality. I can do all these things in order for God to be happy with me. That wrong concept of who God is will prevent you from being able to live in relationship with other people the way that God desires his children to live. You know how Connie said she taught her children all along, we are the love family. Do you know how she taught them that? She didn't just say, we are the love family, we are the love family, we are the love family. She taught them we love no matter what. When one of them was bad, or toward the other one, she made them love and hug each other until they loved one another. They couldn't go nowhere else until they loved one another. We learn it by experiencing it first. If we don't understand that, then we believe we have to do something for God first and then he'll do something for us. But it's the other way around.
Amen.
He's done it all. And the reason why he did it all was because he loved us. There is no other reason why God created you. He didn't have any other... This is not even my message. There is no other reason why God created you. He has no arrogant self. I have to have these people that live a certain way in order for me to be able to remain God. That's kind of how we have thought of God in our religious understanding. He created you only simply because he loves you. You were a thought in his mind. And when you were born, he jumped with delight.
Yes.
That's why you're here.
Yes.
That's why I'm here. We're here to be loved by God.
Yes.
We're here to be loved by God, to experience his life. When I had children, I didn't think I'm going to have these babies and then I'm going to raise them up. And then so that when they do, they could make me look good. Think about it. But yet, in our religious mindset, we think God created us so that we can make him look good. You know what, though? When my babies grow up, and they act appropriately, it does make me look good. Because I'm the mama. That's not why I have them. Are you following what I just said there?
Yes.
It's not why I had them. Yes. It's not why it's not why they were in my thoughts before they were born. I didn't think I want to have children so they can make me look good. I thought I want to have children so I can love them and raise them, and we can be a family, and we can have relationships together, and we can have life together. And if I, a human mama, can have those thoughts toward my children, how much more is God's thoughts toward us? thoughts of love toward us. There is no other reason you were born except for God to love you to life.
Yes.
Love you to life.
Yes.
And if your experience in this life hasn't been all that feeling of love, it's because you've been lied to. You believed the lie that God expected something from you in order to deserve anything from Him. That will put us in shame and condemnation. It will prevent us from living the life we were born to live. Okay.
Good work.
That's the pre-message. Somebody needed to hear that. Maybe it was me. Well, how have you been enjoying the conference so far? We were just saying, it's the best one so far. Best one ever. Best one so far. Every time we say that, though. Every single time. Every single time. So amazing. You know, when Connie called me this week, was telling me, oh my gosh, I have to tell you that I'm going to be talking that we have the mind of Christ. And she began to tell me how excited she was about what her message was going to be on. And I thought, wow, what an amazing thing that God continues to just pour revelation into the heart of the one who seeks. God, tell me the truth that will set me free. Tell me the truth that will set me free. She was so excited. She was like, just give me the mic. Who will listen to me? Anybody listen to me? I'm going to preach to them. Like there was a fire under her feet and she couldn't keep from trying to stomp it out. That's how excited that she was about what she was going to talk on. And I thought, wow, that's great, because it really went along with what I felt like God was giving me. I've never spoken last. I've never brought home the party. But I'm bringing home the party today. She's like, usually I'm a groundwork layer. I usually come in first and lay the groundwork and somebody else brings home the party. But this time I get to bring home the party. And I'm excited because I really feel like God has been showing me some things in the last few weeks about why sometimes we continue to fall underneath circumstances of life and not enjoy the truth. It's like we know the truth, but yet we still keep falling underneath the garbage that comes. And Connie's laying the groundwork of us having the mind of Christ. Where's my son-in-law? Where? I look back and see my daughter and I'm like, where's my son-in-law? He's supposed to be in here. Okay, well, when he comes back, I have some things to say.
Just stall a little bit. Tap in.
Anyways, why do we keep falling under the things we know better?
Yeah.
Why?
Good question.
Good question. So anyways, I think it's good that Sandra told her little story. Because that shows that even though we're up here speaking, telling the good news, telling the gospel, telling you the truth, we still deal with the same things you all do. She told her little story about, I mean, that's a serious thing. I mean, you know, when you get into that place where she was at, I mean, sometimes if you allow that to stick around and stay, it can alter the course of your life.
That's right.
I mean, if she would have hung on to that, she could have said, I'm done with the Women of Grace. I can't stay there. I'm going a different direction. I'll just do my own ministry and my own thing and do what everybody else does in life.
Yep.
Because they can't handle relationships with other people, so I'm just going to go on and have my own ministry. I am not kidding. We all have speakers up here laugh because it's true. We are uniquely put together to show you who God is in relationship with one another.
Yes.
That we do not have to be the same persons, but we all have the same message. And in that same message, we're living it in our life. And in our life, we are learning as we go to apply everything that the Lord gives us to teach to you.
That's right.
So I have a little story to tell you too. Since my son-in-law is not in here yet and I can't tell you his story, I'm going to have to tell you a different story first and go out of order. Someday, I'm going to make him watch this when he comes back on the video so he can see how much fun. All right, so here's my example, okay? So I told you that my sister called me, 3 days ago. It's Saturday, so maybe it was 4 days ago when she was telling me about what she was. When we talked about having the mind of Christ, and we were just so excited talking about the mind of Christ, the mind of Christ, the mind of Christ. And I'm like, oh, it's so good, it's so good. This is going to fit in right with what I have to talk about too. And so I said, by the way, can I ride up with you to the conference on Thursday night? Because she was coming through, and I was going to meet her, and somebody was going to drive me to meet her an hour away, so I could meet her on an exit, and she was going to take me the rest of the way because my son-in-law and my daughter are coming to the conference too, and we're going to be using my car. So I wanted them to be able to come, so I needed a ride. So anyways, she said, sure, no problem. No problem, you can ride with me, that'll be fine. And I'm like, okay, great, that works out perfect, that makes everything work fine. So my plan is I'm going to ride up here with her, and then afterwards we're going to go up to Michigan and go to Nicole's Lake House for a couple days. All of us speakers in the Because of Jesus staff are going to go up there and enjoy a couple days together after the conference is over. And I thought, that's great. I'll be able to ride with her up there and, then come back, and then someone can meet at the same place that they dropped me off, and I'll be able to get home. And then my daughter and my son-in-law can use my car and come up and go back. And they got to get back today because Grandpa, my husband, is watching their 1-year-old. What? Give a shout out to my husband, the man of the year, for a little over 24 hours is watching a 1-year-old, along with his own 7-year-old and his own 10-year-old at home. So he is got 3 boys he's watching for a good 24-hour period of time by himself.
My 3 sons.
My 2 sons and a grandson. So anyways, let's continue the story. So I'm planning, that's my plan. So my plan is I'm going up and coming back. Well, guess what? Thursday morning, was it Thursday morning?
Yeah.
Thursday morning, okay, mind you, it was Thursday morning when I'm starting to get ready to go. Thursday morning, Connie calls, oh, by the way, I need to make sure that you have a ride home. Because I'm not going to have any room for you on the way back. Because Sandra is going to be taking your spot on the way back. She had already asked me if she could ride with me on the way back. And I'm like, no, I don't have a different ride home. And she goes, oh, well, I'm sorry. Oh, well, I'm sorry. I can't help it. I've got my resources, and they're going to be on the other side of the car, and I've only got 1 seat. And I'm like, well, I guess I can't come then, because I don't have a way. I just meant to Lake Michigan, not to here. I could get here, but I couldn't get up there now. And I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go. I was talking to one. I gotta go, because I gotta figure out, what I'm going to do. So I get off the phone, and I hang up, and I have 2 choices.
Yep. Lie or truth.
Lie or truth. I know my sister. I know she loves me. I know she wants me to be with her wherever we go. But I could have believed the lies that were coming at me fast, hard, and strong. She doesn't care whether you come or not. If she really cared, she would have made sure that she had a way for you to get back.
Right.
And there's a few more.
Wait a minute, you gotta tell what I told when you before
Okay.
you
Okay, wait, I gotta tell you this part, okay? What's that? I tell you this part. Okay, so she goes, okay, this is what she said. She goes, okay, but Christy, there's still a way, so we're gonna pray and believe God that if he wants you to come, and what did you say?
I said, Jesus is gonna work this out.
Oh, yeah,
if you're gonna come, and you said, well, I can tell you were like, I don't see how that's gonna happen.
No, I didn't. That's what she said. That's what she said. She goes, Jesus can still work this out. He can work this out. We're gonna believe that he's gonna work this out. And I said, oh, okay, well, I gotta go.
So I gotta work it out.
No, I just said I gotta go. I gotta go. That's what I said. I gotta go. Okay, now mind you, my sister was supposed to be picking me up at the side of the road at an exit in about 8 hours. Okay, so anyways, so she was like, and no, when she said that, I did believe that. I really believed that God could still work this out.
Yeah.
I did. I really, to be perfectly honest, I knew that it was going to work out. But I knew this was a test. I knew it. Right, exactly. I knew. But to tell you the truth, that I wasn't tempted to still believe all those lies that I just told you about, I would be putting on a show, because there are those temptations to believe those lies. And the closer you are in a relationship, almost the easier it is to believe those lies, because the expectations on those people are higher. So I hung up the phone with her, and I thought, I had the temptation to think those thoughts, but I knew better. For one thing, my pain tolerance for emotional pain is like 0. 0. I mean, like, any thought that I know will take me down a place where I am going to feel emotional pain, I almost won't allow myself to go down that path, because I don't want to feel emotional pain. And I know that I really have the choice as to whether or not I go down that path or not. The Lord taught me that a long time ago. But still, I have to admit that sometimes it feels good to stroke yourself. And say, poor me. If she really loved me, if she really thought that she really wanted me to go, she would not have flung this on me at the last minute, because it's very likely that I'm not going to be able to go on this trip. So anyways, I took my heart to the Lord, and I said, Lord, I know that I'm having these temptations to think these things, but I know none of them are true. And I'm not going to believe any of them, because I know they're not true. And I just ask you, Lord, that you just make this okay. Whether it be okay that I don't get to go to Michigan, or whether it work out that I get to go to Michigan, you make it okay in my heart.
Yes. Right.
And so I was just like, whatever happens, I'm okay with it. You know, if I get to go, then that's great, because I really want to go. But if I don't get to go, I'm going to be okay, and I know those lies that are trying to penetrate my heart about what my sister thinks about me are not true. Okay, so basically, I got myself okay. And I'm like, okay, God, I'm just going to trust you that whatever happens, happens. I got to find a way. I got to find a way back. Got to find a way to the conference. I got to find a way back. So then I called my mom. And I'm like, hey, Mom, by the way, I'm going to ride up to the conference with you, and then I need to ride back with you, because I didn't even tell her why. But then I didn't even tell you that I was going to ride back with you. But then I just thought, I'll just ride back with her. Whatever you do is what I'll do. So there was my ride there and back. That was my backup plan. So anyway, so then I called Nicole, and I said, I text her, guess what? And she's like, what? And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to come to the lake house. And she's like, no! There's no way you're not coming! And so anyway, so then at first she was like, I'll drive you home. I'm like, you are not driving me home. That's not going to work. I wasn't going to let her do that. But anyways, long story short, we decided I'd let her drive me home later on in the evening, after she drove back to her house for a little while. We rested, and then she could drive me a little ways down the road, and Aaron could come pick me up on the exit that he was going to have to with Connie. I'd let her do that. That wasn't asking too much. And so we're like, okay, that will work. I was like, okay, I'll let you do that. That will work. I can come. So we got it all planned out. And it wasn't, I don't know, maybe an hour later, Connie calls and says, hey, Christy, I just want to let you know that we worked it out. Lisa's going to take all my resources with her, which is another Because of Jesus staff person. So your spot's open and you can ride in the car now. I'm like, woohoo! Now I have two-way back. Now I got double the way to be able to get there and to get back.
Amen.
I just tell you all that to let you know that we deal with the same things you do.
Yes.
We still have to recognize the lies when they come at us.
Yes.
We have to choose to believe the truth just like you do.
Yes.
And we are empowered to do so because we have the mind of Christ, and so do you. We can live in victory. We can recognize the lies. We can not to succumb to the lies.
Amen. That's right. Oh.
What are you whispering up?
Yes. It's not a booger.
Yeah, right. I tell you all that to tell you, like I said, that we, the speakers up here, are just like you. No different at all. The only difference is we said yes to Jesus and allowing him to use us in our gifting of speaking. That's it. You saying yes to Jesus in your gifting is no different than us up here. Just as important.
Amen. Yes. Amen.
Just as important.
Amen.
Just because people stand up on the stage and speak, sing, do whatever on the stage does not make them any more important.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
And we deal with the same things. We put our shoes on the same way every day, put our pants on, we put our clothes, we take showers, we do the same thing that you do. And we just want to be real with you all.
Yeah.
We just want to be real. We want you to know that we deal with the same things, but it doesn't negate the truth.
Right. That's right.
And the truth is, the only reason why I had victory, the only reason why Sandra had victory is because we have the mind of Christ.
Amen.
And we chose to believe what he told us, what he tells us, other than the lying thoughts that were coming at us that were contrary to what he says.
Exactly.
And that's where the victory comes. That's where the victory comes. All right. Now, to get to my message, and I have 16 minutes. My wonderful daughter and son-in-law are here. Would you please stand up? Is Mimi back there? Is she awake? Look, there she is. Isn't she beautiful? That is my sweet granddaughter Mimi and my daughter Rachel and my son-in-law Alex. And they are up here for the weekend because I lent them my car so they could come and listen to me speak. But I wanted to introduce them to you because I'm very proud of them and I want them to know that. And I want to use my son-in-law as a little bit of an illustration because he is taking a class. Well, he's taking some classes right now on being a CNC machinist. And so he's up doing homework a lot at my house right now and learning a lot of stuff. And so when he first got started, we were discussing one night some different vocabulary that he was learning. And one of the vocabulary words that he was learning on the very first night that he was studying was tolerance. And so I was helping him with this like pre-test thing he was doing online. And when we were going over this word tolerance, I thought, wow, that is spiritual word. That's a very spiritual word. And I began to say, God, what is it about that word that you're wanting me to know more about? What is it about that word that there's some, this is my relationship between me and God. something about this. There's something deeper than I'm getting on this, Lord. Help me to know what it is. And I just keep going on it and keep going on it and keep going on it, saying, there's more to it, God. Tell me some more. Tell me some more. Tell me some more. Tell me some more. And now this is a simple word called tolerance. It's not even a scripture. It's not even a scripture. It's not even anything that sounds spiritual at all. But yet, I knew there is some spiritual realities in this word. And so I began to look it up. And I had about a few weeks since then that I began to talk to the Lord about it. And this is what tolerance means. Tolerance is an allowable amount of variation of a specified quantity. All right, so he's learning about machine parts. So tolerance in a machine part is an allowable amount of movement for machine parts to work so that they can do their job. All right? A tolerance number would be how much variation that part can have to do its job. So, if a part has zero tolerance, what does that mean?
Has to be
No
perfect.
movement, no variation. It is, some parts can't be zero tolerance. Some parts have to, they have to have tolerance in order to do their job. But zero tolerance means no variation. Zero tolerance is it stays the same, doesn't move, it allows for no give or variation at all. So to tolerate something is to allow variation.
Yes.
Are you following where I'm going?
Yes.
All right. Who God is. Okay, James 1:17. Do you have my scriptures or James 1:17? Let's look it up. All right. This tells us a little bit about God. Every good and perfect gift comes from the Father of lights, with whom there is no variation or the slightest suggestion of change. Zero tolerance. God does not change. No variation. Zero tolerance. Doesn't mean the tolerance like we've taken that word and going like, I don't tolerate you acting differently than me. No, it just means he doesn't change. Sometimes tolerance, the way people look at tolerance today is being accepting of other people having different viewpoints or different thoughts. That's not the tolerance I'm talking about. I'm talking about solid, found piece of sheet metal that, is so solid it doesn't change. That's our God. Who he is does not change. No matter what you do, you aren't going to change him. He is love. He'll be loved. He was loved yesterday. He'll be loved today, and he'll be loved tomorrow.
Yeah.
He doesn't change. You can't be bad enough to make him change.
Yes. Amen.
Connie just said in her last message that he judges no one. You can't be bad enough to make him think, I'm done not judging, and I'm going to start judging you. You're not going to get him off of his throne by his being frustrated with you that you can't get it together.
That's right.
He is the same God yesterday, today, and forever. He is zero tolerance. All right. When I was studying this, the Lord took me to the word truth. And truth is this. It is the immovable, unbending, absolute, valid reality.
Valid.
Immovable, unbending, absolute, valid reality. Who is the truth? He says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Zero tolerance. What he says is the truth. Who he is the truth. This is powerful. Absolute, unbending, immovable. You can't make him change by anything you do. He will make you change by what he does. But you can't make him change by what you do.
Amen. Yes. No darkness.
He's the immovable one.
Yes.
What he says is the truth. What did Connie say? I wrote the scripture down in my notes when she was talking. She said, he declares that you are now righteous. What does that mean?
Righteous.
The immovable, unbending, absolute, valid reality that cannot change, zero tolerance, is that you are the righteousness of God.
Yes.
Unbending, absolute, valid, immovable reality. Nothing you can do in your behavior will ever change it. Because of Jesus, you have been made the righteousness of God, and Jesus is the Word of God, the absolute truth, and it does not change. You can take it to the bank. You didn't make yourself that, the changeable one, in your opinions and thoughts and behaviors. He spoke it, and He's unchangeable. He don't take it back. You know, a lot of times we say things and we go, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said that. God never does that. He never does that. He never speaks and has to take His words back and wish He never said them. He only speaks from who He is, the truth. And the truth is, we are who God says we are. And we are who God says He is. What does God say about Himself? So what does He say about you? That's right. What He says about Himself, He says about you. And it is the absolute, unbending, immovable, absolute reality, the valid actuality of truth. You can take it to the bank truth. Actually, even more than that, because banks make mistakes. So we learned from Connie, and I have like less than 10 minutes. We learned from Connie that He is love, He is righteous, He is life, He is perfect, He is who He says He is. And what He says about Himself is what He says about us. And there's zero tolerance. Your behavior might not show that truth, but it's only because you believe there's tolerance. But there is no tolerance. It doesn't change. You are who God says He is. He has given you His identity. He says, I am. I am. He is the truth. And who He is who He says you are. You know, from the beginning of time, man has been trying to figure out, I want to be like God. I want to be like God. It was the very thing that the devil tempted Adam with. He said, come on, come taste of this fruit. You're not going to die. You will be like God. But what did God tell him? Don't eat of that tree, because when you do, you will surely die. So doubting what God said and believing what they said, what the devil said, because they wanted to be like God, they believed the lie, embraced the lie, and it changed their view of God. It changed their view of God. They didn't see God for who He truly was anymore. They saw Him in their own image rather than seeing themselves in His image. When they partook, it's why they died. It's why death came. Because they changed their view of God into the image that they had of themselves, rather than the view of themselves from the image of who God truly was. Their seeking to be like God actually caused them to see God like themselves. And they began to see God as if he had rules and regulations, and he was going to get them for what they did wrong, because that's what the knowledge of good and evil does. It makes you think good needs to be rewarded and bad needs to be punished, and that's the way human reasoning is, right? You do good, you get good. You do bad, you get bad. That's the way it should be, right? That's the way it should be in this world. Somebody does something bad, they need to be punished. That's human reasoning. Is that true?
No.
What's the truth? He judges no one. He is merciful, kind, good, and loving. But because man sought to be like God on their own, in their own terms, and in their own way, they lost their sense of identity for being made in the image of God, took on a different identity, and it changed their view and their concept of God. So instead of them seeing themselves like God, they saw God like themselves. I want you to look at this scripture. You can start playing if you want. Just play softly. Romans 1, verse 21 says, and I've got verse 23 up there if they'll show it in a second, but I'm going to add in a couple scriptures in front, because it says, for although they knew God, they did not accept him as God, and their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Thinking they were wise, they became fools. And losing sight of God made them lose sight of who they really were. In their calculation, the image and likeness of God became reduced to a corrupted and distorted pattern of themselves. Seeking to be like God on their own caused them to see God in human reasoning of right and wrong, rather than seeing themselves like he was. So in seeking to be like God, they became fools, trying to be God on their own. When all along God was offering the tree of life. His identity as a gift. All along. And Jesus came and made that possible. And now, guess what? Our quest to be like God has been given to us. But it still comes the same way. Receiving it by being the truth of what God declares about us because of Jesus. And it's an absolute, unbending, immovable actuality of truth. And it doesn't change. What man sought to do and be all on his own is impossible and brings death, but is given to us as a gift. And I want to end with this scripture right here. Can you go to my very last scripture? It's Romans chapter 8. Verse 13 and 14. In the light of all of this, to now continue to live under the sinful influence of the flesh, senses, and human reasoning is to reinstate the dominion of death. Let me read that again. In the light of all this, in the light of all what? That we are who God says we are. That we are who God says he is. That we have the mind of Christ. That because of Jesus, we have been made into the image of God. All that man seeks to be like God has been accomplished in Jesus Christ. Everything that we need to be to the top of the order can't get any higher than God, right? Has been given to us in Christ. In the light of all of this, to now continue to live under the sinful influence of the flesh, or the senses of human reasoning of what is right and what is wrong. You get good when you do good, and you get bad when you get bad. And under the self-efforts of the law, rather than by grace, is to reinstate the dominion of death from which you've been delivered from. When we take on the lies, and we believe the lies more than we believe God, we're once again trying to find our own sense of identity outside of what He says is true about us. Reinstating the dominion of death. Instead, we are to now exhibit the highest expression of life inspired by the Spirit. This demonstrates a zero tolerance, no variation to the habits and sinful patterns of a fleshly identity. Exactly what Sandra was talking about when we were doing the question and answer thing. When we accept the fact that we are like God because of the gift of what Christ has done for us, and because God's given it to us based on what He says is the truth about Himself, and He gives us that identity and we embrace it as our own, when we do that, we give zero tolerance to life outside of that identity. Zero tolerance. When we don't, we tolerate an identity of which we no longer have. It's time we draw our foot in the line and say, I'm not tolerating it anymore. I'm not living under the dominion of death anymore. I've been delivered and transferred into the kingdom of God. And I am like He is. I have been made like God. He and I are one. We are one and the same, and I have no quest to try to find myself in any other place anymore. There is zero tolerance in this life for anything other than what God says is true about me. I refuse to let the enemy lie to me anymore and steal 1 minute of my day. Because what I have sought all along, God's given to me as a gift, because He loves me that much. And He desires I live that way, in life and life more abundantly. This life demonstrates zero tolerance to the habits and sinful patterns of a fleshly identity. The original life of the Father revealed in His Son is the life the Spirit now conducts within us. Embracing the identity that we have the mind of Christ, and that we have been made like God as a gift of our loving good Father, is the answer to every problem you ever will ever come in contact with. Everything. Somebody's saying, yeah, but you don't know. Somebody's saying, yeah, but you don't know. I'm telling you, yeah, I do know. I may not have experienced what you experienced, but the same truth will set you free no matter what your situation is, and your situation is not worse than what God's gift to you is. There is a plan for you, and that plan was done from the beginning of time. Jesus Christ was the Lamb slain before the foundation of the world. And God's thought of you was, I'm going to make them like me as a gift so they don't have to earn it. They can't make it happen. They'll just have to receive it as a love gift from me. And that will take care of every problem they've ever had. You know, many times we allow our circumstances and our situations to mull us over. Just mull us over. I had a little prop I was going to do, a little illustration. And I had this little, have you ever seen those bop it things where you punch them and they fall down and they come back up and you pop it? I mean, sometimes that's what people's lives are like. They get bopped down, they pop back up. They get bopped down, they pop back up. But man, I'm tired of seeing people getting bopped down. I'm tired of being bopped down myself. Well, as long as we get back up, I guess that's good. But I'm telling you, Jesus did for us what he did for us so we don't have to get knocked down. When you do, there's an answer for you. You can run to the Father and he will rescue you. But there is a place of bulletproof life, like Nicole said, where we can stop those darts, those lies. We can stop them by the truth. When we know we have zero tolerance within us. And we say, I won't tolerate anything other than what my God says is true about me. But what causes us to get mulled over, and I'm going to end with this, is when we look at the situation and the circumstance that's coming at us as if it's the end of the story.
Right.
Rather than a bump in the road in the journey. And that's the truth. Because there's no reason why you would get so mulled over or just completely annihilated by somebody saying something not very nice to you unless you thought, life's over for me. How am I going to be able to go on if this situation isn't changed for me? Unless you think it's the end of the story. Because we go to sleep and wake up. And the end of the story is the truth of what God says is true about you. And when you know that, when those situations come at you, you can see them for what they really are. A bump in the road. Lies that are trying to make you feel like that's the end of the story. The same lie the enemy told Adam and Eve. That if you really want to be like God, you need to listen to me. God has a plan for us, and that plan is him. Zero tolerance given to you as a gift for your life. We are who he says he is. We have been made like God. And there's nothing you can do to make yourself more like God, or nothing you can do to make yourself less like God. That means your story has a happy ending. Zero tolerance. We are who God says he is. We are who God says we are. We're like God. And there was a scripture I had that I didn't get to, that said that when Jesus took on the image of God, he didn't see it as stealing from God to share his glory with Jesus. And he didn't see it as stealing from him to share his glory with us. We are who God says he is. And I didn't pray at the beginning of my message, but I'm going to pray right now. And we'll end here. Heavenly Father, I thank you for these wonderful, beautiful people here today, God. And I just ask you, God, that you would make the truths that have gone forth this weekend, God, to penetrate the hearts of everyone here, God. So deep-rooted in their mind and in their heart that they're able to take that truth back to their world that they live in and experience the life you died